Hi everybody, this week we have a super fun experiment where we are going to be making rock candy. All you need for this experiment is you are going to need 2 cups of water, 4 cups of sugar, we have a big bag of sugar right here. You are going to need a clothespin, a jar, and you're going to need a pot to boil the water in. You are also going to need a few wooden sticks and some food coloring if you would like. The food coloring is optional, it is not necessary. The first thing you guys are going to do is you're going to bring 2 cups of water to boiling, just like that. Make sure for this step that you have a parent or a guardian do this. Don't do this on your own because it can get a little dangerous. The next step after the water's boiling is you're going to put 4 cups of sugar into the water and you're going to mix it until it dissolves, so you won't be able to see the little grains of sugar. It'll be completely clear. So again, have a parent or guardian do this because the water's pretty hot. So we have 1, 2, spilled some, try not to do that, 3, and that's 4. All right, so now we're gonna mix it. So I'll show you guys what that looks like. So it looks like that right now. You're gonna mix until it turns all clear. So now you guys can see it's all clear. So the sugar dissolved into the water. What happened was all of the different grains of sugar, they dispersed through the water. So now you can't really tell the difference between what is sugar and what's water. So this is something called a supersaturated sugar solution. That's the scientific term for it. This is also a good time if you want to add any extra flavorings like vanilla extract or maybe peppermint. Anything that you'd like, you can do that now and stir it into your little solution. So now you guys are going to let that cool for about 15 to 20 minutes. And while that's cooling, you are going to put some sugar on a plate just like this, and you're going to get your wooden sticks ready. So what you need to do here, so you can go over to the sink, get the sticks nice and wet, just like that. And now, you're going to roll it around in the sugar. You want to make sure it completely covers the stick as much as possible. So you can cover it up just like that. Now you can do as many sticks as you want, but make sure when you put the sticks in the jar, there's only 1 stick per jar. All right, you don't want to put more than 1, because then it'll get a little more complicated. Once your sugar solution is cooled down, again for about 15 to 20 minutes, you can put in your food coloring. So I'm gonna put about maybe 3, 4, 5 drops. I chose blue. You can choose any color you would like. And then you're just gonna mix it. Mix. Now you guys are going to pour the sugar solution into the cup or the jar, the glass, whatever you're using, that you're going to grow your crystals in, just like this. And make sure before you put the stick in the solution that the stick is completely dry. Don't just roll it in the sugar and then dip it in. You want to make sure that it's dried completely. So the next part is you are going to put this stick, the stick with the dried sugar on it, through a paper towel just like this. And you're going to hang it in the jar like that. And to keep it up, you're going to take the clothespin and clip it so that it's hanging in the jar just like that. Now you want to make sure that the stick isn't touching the sides or the bottom of the jar, because once the crystals start growing, if it's touching other crystals, it'll get stuck to the jar and you don't really want that. So make sure it's hanging in the middle, not stuck to anything else. The next part of the experiment is just waiting around a little bit. So for the next about 2 weeks, you're going to leave your crystal rock stick in a dry, quiet place and make sure it's not too cold, not too warm in there so that the crystals can attach and grow on the stick. So let's talk a little bit about the science behind what's happening. So when we boiled our water, hot water has a higher solubility. That means that when we put the sugar in there, it dissolves pretty easily. And so the sugar molecules spread out evenly in the water. They spread out so much you can't even tell the difference between the sugar and the water. So as we cool the water down, the solubility decreases. That means that the sugar that we poured into the boiling water is going to come back and find each other, and they're going to make little sugar molecules again. Now, the sugar molecules like to attach to already existing sugar molecules. They're not going to create their own. So the sugar on the stick is going to attract all of the sugar in the rest of the solution. So as you'll notice over the next couple days, the sugar that we boiled in the water, so the blue stuff, will attach to the sugar on the stick. So day after day, it'll keep growing and keep growing. And after about 2 weeks, that's the maximum amount of crystals that can grow. So check in with your stick every day and see how much it's growing. And after 2 weeks, see if you've gotten a full crystal rock candy. And I'll show you some pictures of some experiments that worked. So I'll also include a time lapse so you guys can see what happens day after day. Now, if you notice over the next couple days that your crystals are attaching to the crystals on the bottom or maybe on the side, you can move your stick a little bit to avoid that because we don't want it to get stuck to the jar. And after about 2 weeks, there may be a little layer of rock crystals on the top. Just use a knife, gently poke around it, and slowly pull the crystals out, and you can put it in another jar to dry, an empty jar. And then once that dries and cools down, you will have your finished product. I hope you guys enjoy. So here are some pictures of what your candy will look like after about 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, this is usually when the crystals stop forming, they're about done. So as you can see in all of these pictures and in the video that I will include at the end, all of the crystals look more or less the same. They have different colors, but most of them have the same shape. So this is because as the sugar is recombining with one another from the solution and attaching to the sugar on the stick, the sugar has a very, very specific way of forming over time. So if you were to try this with salt or with any other substance, the patterns that it would form at the end would be a lot different. But every single time you try it with sugar, it should more or less look like these pictures.